All right, what is going on, everybody? What's up? How's it going? And welcome back to the Tidmouth Talks podcast. Guys, I'm sorry that I haven't been on here, that I haven't done an episode in like it's 3 months, almost 4 months. And that's just because I haven't had a guest, but today, um, I'm back with another episode, and from now on, I'm just gonna call them episodes instead of having seasons because it happened before, it's happened again, so I'm just gonna, you know. Anyway, so I'm just gonna call them episodes from now on and not even do seasons, unless you guys still want me to. Either way, my guest for today is my one of my newest friends. You guys might know him. He goes by the Ginger Engine on YouTube. Please welcome Andrew Jordan, aka the Ginger Engine. Come on. Oh, oops, I'm not trying to mute him. There.
No
Hey,
problem.
Andrew.
Hey, Caleb, thanks very much for having me.
Yeah, we'll just get started with the questions.
No
And
worries.
so, well, none of you guys know this, but we've actually been talking a lot behind the scenes. And Andrew is actually going to be in my series, The Journey Never Ends. So, expect his voices in the series when it comes out. So, before YouTube and podcasting, what was life like for you growing up in Scotland?
Well, I know this will be hard for you to understand as a young man, Caleb, but there was a time before the internet, and
Mm-hmm.
that was when I was growing up because I am
Mm-hmm.
a kick in the pants off 40. We'll just say that. So I was born in a little town called Bells Hill in 1987. So for Thomas reference, that was the year after season 2 of the classic era had just came out. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so so growing up, very shy, not very confident, quite timid. Not a lot of things really made me feel good about myself. Two things made me feel happy. One was acting, and the other was Thomas the Tank Engine. Thomas the Tank Engine was basically literally from the day I was born, I was watching a VHSs of Thomas the Tank Engine. My older brother had them before me, and as was tradition, they were passed down to me. They expected me to grow out of it. I did not grow out of it, not in the slightest. I fell in love with Sodor. I fell in love with the characters, the engines. It was just part of my childhood. It was part of me growing up. It was probably why I loved to perform as well. I would listen to Ringo Starr doing the different accents, Michelangelo's as well. And in terms of performing, I just fell in love with it. I remember doing my first Christmas nativity, and it was the first time a lot of the other children my age ever heard me speak. I was too scared to say anything to anybody, but I knew everybody else's lines. I knew my own lines. At one point during the actual show, I stopped the production midway because they said that I'd got a line wrong. And I said, no, your line is this. You say this, then you say that, then I say this. My mum, who was videoing it on a video camera at the time, it dropped straight down to her feet. She was that embarrassed, which was understandable. Now that I am a dad, I do kind of get that moment where you go, oh my goodness, what has my kid just done? But my teacher was so impressed. And she said, he's got something. I have not seen him like this before. He's confident. He knows what he's doing. This needs to be encouraged. And I kept carrying on with that as I was growing up. I kept doing like shows, musicals, plays, acting, anything that I could do to perform. That's what I wanted to do. And I kept doing that. And I've done that from 6 years old up until the age that I am now. And it's always evolved. It went from acting, then it went to directing, then writing, then singing, stand-up comedy, and then kind of fell into the content creating world kind of by accident, really, with how everything turned out. Because COVID times, we all know that was a bit of a rough time. And I was working the 9 to 5 jobs at the time, and I basically told you got no choice. You've got to come in. If you die, so what? Was the long and short of it. I was trying to do things to help my own mental health, and that was interviewing people, kind of like what you're doing with myself, and talking to
Yeah.
people in the arts about like mental health issues in the arts, because that's quite a big thing. And the channel kind of skyrocketed during lockdown. It went from about 100 subscribers to 10,000, which was very, as I know now from my experiences, that doesn't happen very often. And I wanted to see if that was like a fluke or if it was something that I could do. And I thought, what else am I passionate about? Like the arts, mental health, but I'm also passionate about Thomas the Tank Engine. And for a long time, I hid that from people because it wasn't really seen as the right thing for people to my age to say that we were still Thomas fans. There's still a big stigma around it, as we know in the community, if you're an older Thomas fan. But it was very, very intimidating to do that. You were meant to leave that behind in childhood, but I never did. So I thought, I'm going to try, I'll just do a couple of videos and see how it goes. And the interest just, again, it racketed up. I had about 3,000 subscribers just in about half a dozen videos, which again, as I know now, is very, very rare. And I just kind of I enjoyed the community. I enjoyed the fandom. I enjoyed like hearing not only like people like kind of my own age and just a little bit younger, but then like generations below me who had grew up with other eras that I hadn't grew up with at the time. Like, you know, like the CGI era and things like that, like kind of later CGI era, talking about their experiences with it. And it was always great to hear other people talking about the eras of Thomas and Friends and what they grew up with and what their memories were. And it's just kind of ran from there. I had to end up setting up my media company, which I've now been running for 4 years. And a lot of that is based off the back of the success I've had with the Ginger Engine channel and trying to help other people grow their channels as well. And now becoming like a podcasting and content creating producer, director, and content creator.
Okay. Next, so question 2 is, well, you kind of answered these first 3 all in that, in what you just said. So question 2 is, what first got you interested in entertainment media and interviewing people? And then was there a specific moment where you realized you want to do this seriously? And you kind of answered both of those in question 1, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I tend to ramble. Well, that's a
Yeah.
Scottish trait. We tend to ramble a lot. But yeah, it's just kind of how everything came about with interviewing and things like that. Scottish people
Yeah.
are very naturally nosy. We like to ask questions. We like to get to know people. That's one of my traits as well. Once I found my confidence in my voice, I wanted to find out more about people. And people thought I was a good host. They thought I was good. I was refreshing because I wasn't sticking to that kind of, you know, like the generic formulas that you see in a lot of TV nowadays, where it's very rigid. I always like to keep things flowing and more natural, like we're doing right now. We're having a conversation, and people like that because it showed that you're paying attention to them. And that's when I started to think, maybe I am okay at this. Maybe I'm good at it. And that just kind of, ran from there. And when I realized that it could actually make something out of this was when the channels got monetized, because I had no choice. I'd never been in a position where I could make actual regular, not a lot of income, but income in general off of doing something like this. Like I used to do like I did background roles, sporting roles in TV and things like that in Scotland. They were just like little side hustles here and there. Well, I tried to do my own things, like, you know, I had my own theatre company for a year after I graduated college. But really, the main thing was the 9 to 5 admin job. I did them from when I was 17 until I was about 36, 37. So about a good 20 years of my life. And with those type of jobs, I was either staying still or I was regressing. I was never progressing. And I would always wind up burning out. My mental health would tank. And it was repeat cycle. And it was because I wasn't good at it. I wasn't good at that type of stuff. But the stuff I was good at, I couldn't make money. And I was stuck in that kind of vicious cycle until 2023, when I took not well quite severely with my mental health, which meant I had to be I was made homeless. I was sleeping in my car. I couldn't see my wife. I couldn't see my kids. it was a really tough time. It also meant I couldn't work a quote unquote proper job, what the air quotes for it. And I tried my best to figure out how was I going to do this? I couldn't be the dad I wanted to be to my kids anymore. Like, and what could I do? And I thought, well, the one thing I don't want to give up is the content creation. And if I'm in this position where at the moment, like, financially, I didn't need to worry because I knew where my position was. I thought, let's really just take this and run with it. You're essentially like the safety net's been cast off. Like you sink or you swim. And that was really the moment where I was like, okay, I'm going to double down in this. I'm going to start investing in me because I want my kids to know when they grow up, you can do anything you set your mind to. And they'll always have a dad that's going to encourage them and support them to try and be the best people that they can be. And the best way to do that is to lead by example.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Question 3 is, what inspired the name The Ginger Engine?
The mop on the top of the head. Well, it was a lot redder than this when I was younger. I am that traditional ginger that can't go out in the sun. This isn't just a ring light. This is how pale I actually am. I'm basically like a quarter albino, essentially. My kids, they don't have that. They take after their mum. They can go out in the sun, but I have to hide under a tree and watch them like I've got a custody order against me. I'm just like, hey guys, you enjoy. I have to hide under this tree and be scared now. So, and building that, so my first channel was called That Mental Ginger Show because it was a red-headed guy with mental health issues, and it was a show talking about mental health in the arts.
Okay.
And I thought, well, I've always been, being ginger's never been a good thing when I was growing up. I got constantly bullied for it. Would get physically abused, mentally abused, like basically all through my life. Nobody liked a kid with red hair. They especially didn't like them if they weren't sporty and they liked dramatics and Thomas the Tank Engine and all that kind of stuff. So the ginger part of it was, right, I need to take some of that power back. I need to take that back for my own confidence and for my own self-esteem. So That Mental Ginger Show came one thing. And I thought, well, I like Thomas the Tank Engine and Ginger. My favorite character is Percy. I'm going to make a mock-up of Percy, but if he was ginger, if he was orange. And then got a graphic designer friend by the name of Stacey to add the goatee and the glasses that are now signature with it. And that just became my trademark. And that actually got a lot of backlash at first as well. Well, I actually got quite a lot of abusive messages about it. They thought I was committing an abomination, was one of the best words I had, that it was an abomination. This caricature essentially of Percy as a redhead, which I found funny because it was just like, okay, if it's getting a reaction, it must be doing something right. And then I started to kind of build my brand around that, building it around the prospect of being ginger. And that's how, when I got 3 channels monetized, and it was a case of you have to create a media company or they're going to tax you for 3 channels. I was not going down that road. So set up a media company. What am I going to call it? Ginger Media. I'm a ginger-haired guy that's doing media. It's essentially, I always say they're like the Ron Seal of titles. They do exactly what they say on the tin. Well, I'm ginger. I like steam engines. I like Thomas the Tank Engine. That was kind of how it came about. And I didn't expect it to take off as much as it did after the initial backlash, but people seem to like it. And now I'm just known as the Ginger Engine. And you know what? I'm cool with that. I'm all right with that.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna ask this question, unless it's the same thing, but it's, what was your very first video or podcast episode you uploaded, and how do you feel about it now? So, what was your first video? Then, what was your first podcast video? Is what I'm asking there.
Okay, well, my first Ginger Engine video was actually on my own personal channel, and it was my Andrew Durning channel, because what I did was I tested the waters on that first to see if there was potential to make a YouTube channel out of it, and then I ran with it. So the first one I did was, it was just a top 10 best Thomas and Friends characters. And I did that, and it went okay. And I'll go into my studio just now and I'll be able to tell you what my first actual video was on Ginger Engine proper, because I've done quite a lot since then, you know what it's like. You do so many, and then eventually you start to go, okay, what was that? What have I did? What did I do then? What did I do then? And I always kind of try and look back on it. The one that I'm particularly proud of from back then that I did was because it was just around the time All Engines Go started, and like most of the fandom was not exactly impressed with it. But then I kept trying to say, look, it's not made for me. I'm I'm the other side of midlife. It's not, but it's not that show's not meant for me. Who's it meant for? My kids' age. At the time, they were 4 years old. So I thought, right, I want to see what their reaction is. So I filmed them watching the first episode of All Engines Go, and and I liked it because now it's a little time capsule. I get to really enjoy looking back on them when they were younger. We got to do something together and see how they reacted to it. And it was my highest viewed video for quite a long time, and certainly the highest viewed video I had for quite a while. But the very first one I'd done was it was a show called Railway Reviews. That was kind of like my first podcast as well, because it was about, I was wanting to try and do a little experiment to see if the Railway series books really were for everybody, not just for kids, because that's what we always say in the fandom, that it's not kids books, it's literature. Like Reverend W. Audrey was a real master at literacy as a writer. So I was initially renting a studio at the time, and I thought, right, I'm going to get a couple of Thomas fans, myself and Thomas Lawrence, who does Thomas Reborn channel, and a couple of people that I was working with in the studio who didn't read the books. So I would give a little bit of insight about the stories, and then we would read them together, do like a cast read through, and then we would talk about some of the behind the scenes facts and whether it was a real yay or real nay. And when I look back on the first one, oh my God, I cringe at the editing. I cringe at how bad my editing was, because I was just learning off the fly. I mean, like kids or younger people in your age and kind of 20s odd, they've been raised with technology and raised that everything's so easy for them. Like it was not easy for me, not in the slightest. I didn't start off with any decent editing software at all. It was the old Windows Media editing software that I had that I was using for that, and that was bad, man. Even I admit it was bad, but also it's great to look back on it to see how much like you progress as a content creator, because you don't realize it when you're doing it and progressing and carrying on, how far you've come until you stop and you look back at those old videos and go, wow, I really didn't know a lot back then, but I know a lot more now. But I think what carried it over for me was because I had such a knowledge of Thomas and Friends for like the older generations, which I never had back then.
And what you're saying about like editing, the way you edit evolves. That's me too, because back when I was using different softwares to edit my videos, I didn't talk much in my videos back then. I just I would put text on screen or like images on screen, and I'd say what the video was about. But now I have the series. It's called Beyond the Finish Line. I do deep dives into the series, the Thomas and Friends series, on like the characters, and like the show itself and stuff like that. And that format's a lot better, because I can actually I figured out how to edit like that instead of just using music and text, not talking in my video.
Yeah, and it's the same deal as well. I mean, I still use one of the original editing softwares that I use when I was starting out. So I use Movavi, the 2022 version, because I'm used to that one. I'm comfortable with it, but it's also learning how to make the software work for you rather than because I mean, I'm a dad. If I have any spare cash, it goes towards my kids, because I want them to have stuff that I hope I can provide for them. So sometimes you have to kind of make those sacrifices of what you're going to do. Could I go and get a paid subscription for an editing software where I could learn bits and pieces and stuff? Yeah, but would that also, do I have the capacity to do it right now? Maybe not. So I try and learn other tricks and how to work this software and try and do different things and different techniques. Sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's a miss. Sometimes I mess up. Sometimes But one of my videos that I was really proud of was the two Henrys theory. I really enjoyed doing the deep dive into it. And the amount of comments I got where they said, yeah, your mic was crap. And it was because there was just one bit of issue with the mic that I'd never realized until it went out. And it was just that, that SMH moment. And I was like, oh no, what have I done? And I was I keep thinking, should I go back and re-record it? But then I'm like, you know what? No, it's a time where I learned a valuable lesson. But always check the audio equipment. Always make sure that everything is sorted before you hit publish. Well, so you do the double checks, the triple checks, and all that kind of stuff. So it's something that I learned. But as I'm going to be going forward, and as certain things are going to be progressing with the media company as well, there will be a lot of step ups, and I'm going to have to constantly learn. I keep telling my kids, you don't stop learning in school. Every day's a school day. And because of the age they are right now, they're 8. They're still trying to comprehend. Wait, we keep learning after school. We just got home. And I'm like, yeah, guys. I'm still learning. I'm constantly learning, trying to be a better dad every day, and trying to do all this stuff. You're always going to learn.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Sometimes I have them. It's a very rare moment.
Yeah. Okay, so question 6 is, did you ever expect your content to become so connected to the Thomas fandom?
In all honesty, no. I kind of make the joke that I'm the grandpuff of the fandom, because I mean, it's ironic saying that I'm grandpuff when the unlucky Tug is the same age as me. I think he's actually younger than me, but not by much. I think he's maybe.
He's in his 30s.
Yeah, he's about the same age as me. I think he's maybe a year or two younger than me. I think 37, 38. Because I'm going to be 39 this year. But he's around the same age as me. But I always feel like, everybody says to me, you're like the kind of grandpuff of the fandom, just because of how you are and how you act with things. And a lot of times I do feel like I missed the mark, just because when it got to a certain point in the fandom, I called it the societal pressure phase. You get to a certain age and you're like, okay, you have to stop watching Thomas. And I missed a lot of the franchise. I missed a lot of it, essentially from season 4 onwards. I missed most of it. I would catch the odd episode here and there, but it felt like a dirty secret rather than trying to, embrace my fandomness. It wasn't until I got to just before my 21st birthday, and it was my girlfriend at the time. She was asking me what I wanted for my Christmas and stuff, and what I wanted for my 21st birthday, all this kind of thing. And I remember seeing a Hornby Thomas set, Thomas, Annie, and Clarabelle, and I was like, oh, I would love that, but I can't have those. And she went, why not? I was like, well, people don't really like me liking Thomas and Friends. And she's like, but I know you still do, because when you're in a relationship like that, your first one, you tell them stuff. And I was like, well, yeah. So she got that for me for my 21st birthday, and it is still sealed in that box. It's not. But all those type of things, they are my kids' inheritance for when I snuff it, because mental health issues, I can't get life insurance. So they go to my kid, they go to my kids. And so I thought, right, I'm doubling down on this. 21st party was a Thomas themed birthday party. We got all the Thomas banners and hats and a Thomas cake and everything. And all my family thought it was just a little funny thing. Remember what past times that was it. But my head, it was, no, I want to get back into this fandom, back into my own love of it. I didn't know there was a fandom, because I didn't know a lot. The social media was still kind of coming to prominence. I didn't realize there was a proper connected fandom out there in social media. So it was very much hesitant steps back in and trying to figure out, would I be accepted as an older fan, or would they think that I am let's just say a not nice person for those type of things. We all know those type of people. We've seen that type of stuff, and it's horrible. But I think when they finally get it, it's like, no, he's a good guy, but he just loves Thomas, and he's a little bit older than us, and it makes him happy. Cool, that's fine. And then when I started creating content, I didn't expect it. I just thought it was going to be you're an old man, you don't know what you're talking about. And that kept going, and that kept running. And originally I just thought, well, it's just for me. It gets my love out there. If they like it, that's fine. If they don't, they don't. And it just kept kind of snowballing. It was essentially it Rusty and the Bouldered me. It just went okay, right, the boulder's coming for me. I can either keep running for it or I can just go, okay, let's do this. And it seemed to work out.
Okay. Question 7 is, okay. You've been open about your mental health in some of your projects. How important is that topic to you personally?
It's very, very important to me. Like, I am a huge mental health advocate. I try and raise money for charities involving mental health. I do a lot of things for that. We have the Scottish Association of Mental Health over here. I've raised over £1,000 for them. Well, over the course of the last few years, I raised £300 last year for Andy's Man Club, which is a men's mental health support group in Scotland and the UK as well. And because I do really struggle with my mental health, a lot of things I've been through, and things I wouldn't wish on anybody, like the problems that I've had with my anxiety, my depression, stress, suicidal ideation, all this kind of stuff, like being admitted to hospital with psychosis and things like that. I want people to know that, just because you have those labels, it doesn't stop you being a person. It doesn't stop you being who you are. And that's what I always try and do. I always try and show that, sometimes there's darkness, yeah, but there's a lot of light that comes from that darkness. But I mean, before I really knew what mental health was, because back in the 90s, when I was growing up, mental health wasn't discussed. It was just stop being a Jesse was the words, or a crybaby. The man up thing, I hated that. I absolutely hated that because it made you feel so inferior. It made you feel like, but I am a guy. Guys cry. Guys are allowed to cry. Why do we have tear ducts if we're not allowed to cry? And that was my way. That was my way of coping. It was what would you rather I did? Like punch a wall? No, that's not okay, because that hurts your hand and it breaks things. I would rather cry.
Yeah.
That was my way of releasing all those bad emotions. And I try and do that as best as I can. And I also, especially now that I'm a dad, I don't want my kids to go through what I went through. I never want them to go through it. So I would rather that they saw that I could cry, and that I would be honest with them about my emotions. And some of the techniques I've learned, like I actually use with my kids to try and get them talking about their emotions. Sometimes they do keep things a bit bottled up, but they know that they can come to me if they ever need it. So it's never a case of that. I'll never not practice what I preach. And I'll always try and encourage those people that it is okay to talk, and keeping your emotions bottled up, it's not good for you. And before I had that type of mental health awareness, what was the thing that helped me get through my dark days? Thomas and Friends. It was literally, my coping mechanism was a bowl of Lucky Charms, Thomas and Friends season 2, and that put a smile on my face. I still do that now, because I don't think you should give up those things if they make you feel better. But at least we have more knowledge now and more understanding. There's still a long way to go, because we were in like a mental health epidemic long before things like COVID and stuff came along. That whole be kind thing that went around for ages, it was great, but now it's just a corporate slogan. And that's what happens with this type of stuff. I never want that to happen again. I want people to understand it is okay to talk.
Okay. I just realized I could do that. That puts you full strain. I haven't been doing that the whole time we've been talking.
Every day's a school day, man.
Yeah. What was the hardest part of starting out as a creator is question 8.
The hardest part of starting out as a creator is the imposter syndrome. Not understanding that you do have a voice, not feeling like your voice is valued, respected, good enough. Like when I was first obviously looking at videos to start Ginger Engine, I was obviously looking at guys like the Unlucky Tug and Trevor Davis, who sadly recently passed away. I was looking at their content to try and figure out what my style should be, how I would work, and what I would do. And the hardest part, I think, for me was accepting that I wanted to be on camera, front facing. because a lot of channels, as we know, like for in this fandom, and a lot of fandoms are faceless channels. But for me, I am not shy about putting my face out because I want people to see that I am an older Thomas fan, and I am proud to be a Thomas fan and show my face to the public and go, this is who I am. Thomas is a big part of my life. And if you come on, no matter what channel it is under my brand, you will see me. You will see hopefully a friendly face, a friendly, smiling, maybe sometimes a bit nuts with the way he speaks guy, but know that you are welcome, that you're accepted in any of the channels that I put on. Like, the community will always be there, and I will always create a safe space for the communities. I always make sure that if I see what comments I don't agree with, or I think my fans won't agree with, it's instantly, you're removed, you're blocked. But it's a safe, there's so many negative spaces out there, and I want my channel to be a safe space for people where they can, as long as they're respectful and they don't go over the line with me, I will be respectful to them, and you can be respectful to others. But it was that the biggest struggle was battling that imposter syndrome. I still battle it constantly. I still think that my takes on Thomas are outdated, old fashioned, stupid. Essentially, what I think people are going to think I'm Edward. Like, you know, where they go, oh, he's old and should be retired, when really what I should be, it's actually more like Edward's exploit.
Yeah. Again with Trevor Davis, I actually found out that he passed away from your YouTube short that you uploaded. I saw
Oh,
that.
well,
I'm like, what? He passed away? So I click on his channel. I see that video. I'm like, oh my gosh, he did.
yeah, I'd literally just got back. I was filming a live stream for WrestleMania weekend for one of the channels. And as I got back, it was 4 a.m. my time. And I just checked. I was just looking through the comments as I did, because my video just uploaded and someone said, just to let you know that Trevor passed away. And I thought, no, we know what it's like nowadays. You think there's so much fake news. It's
Yeah.
somebody, I was like, it's somebody trolling me. And I went on and I saw it, the video, and I just started crying, because I just started crying. I was like, this was a creator that I started watching when I first came onto the scene to try and find my voice, well, and try and find my confidence. And he was around, and he was only 34 when he passed away. He's younger than me,
Yeah.
but he was kind of also around the same age, what similar type of interests. And the one thing I'm very glad of is that it was like a top 10 YouTube Thomas creators that aren't the Unlucky Tug. And I mentioned Trevor on that, and got to say to him, you know, you were a big reason for me getting into the fandom, and thank you very much. And luckily he got to see that, and we kept in contact, right the way up until obviously just before he passed away. So yeah, I was literally just after crying, and I was like, I need to get this out and and say my piece. I didn't expect people to look at it or really or even respond in the nicest way that he did. I think it was his sister contacted me and said, thank you so much. And that broke my heart, because I just thought about his family, and my condolences are still to his family.
Yeah, so are mine. And I think he was one of the first Thomas channels I ever watched too. I've watched his videos for a while, and then I find out about that, and it's like, well, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was, especially like at 34. It's no age. It's absolutely no age. Well,
No.
but he had a great family, he had a great life, and he was and hopefully, people now know how respected he was in the community, and that's the big thing I love about this community. We can have our differences, but at the end of the day, when one of our own falls, we are there.
Yeah. Do you remember when Crazy Caboose Creations passed away?
Yeah, I'd only recently just kind of came back into the fold with the fandom when that happened, and again, like the age of that boy, man, it was.
I think he was like, actually, I don't even know if he was 18. It might have been like 16 or 17,
Yeah,
something
it was.
like
I think
that.
Yeah, it was still it was young teenage years and that. Well, I looked at
Yeah,
it, I was
maybe
like, wow.
15 even.
I couldn't believe it. I was what
I know.
it was heartbreaking. But his legacy is like thankfully living on like through the fandom as
Yeah,
well. And that's something that's really strong and you just makes you think. And I think it kind of gives you what as a creator, what in this fandom more impetus to keep going and not give up because we still get the chance to pick up the mic where others don't.
yeah. And it was also a shock when Britt Allcroft passed too.
Uh, I've been trying to record a tribute video to her since then, and I've not been able to. But I did get to communicate with her. But
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, I'd interviewed Michael Donnell, who was also one of the co-composers of the classic era, and I'd
Yeah.
interviewed Nicholas Jones for the Thomas the Tank Engine Man documentary. So I'd recently done that, and I managed to get Britt Allcroft's email, and I thought, you know what, it was the go big or go home. If you don't ask, you don't get. So I'd emailed to ask her if she wanted to come on my channel to interview her, and she agreed. But she was busy. She was currently doing like the monthly stuff with her autobiography, and I thought, well, okay, that's fine. That's all right. I'd also emailed her about a couple of things I'd been looking to try and see if I could get some Thomas merch ideas off the ground to see what her thoughts were on it. So I'd done that as well. But then radio silence for a while. Emailed her just to check in to see how she was doing. Heard that she said she hadn't been keeping too well, and that she still wanted to do the interview, but she wanted to make sure her health was up. And I just said that it was fine. There was absolutely no rush. Focus on your health. Focus on getting better. Sadly, we never got round to that. But you know what? Just getting to have those little bits of email correspondence with her, someone that just shaped my childhood. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But one of the things I do love, I'd said in one of the emails that she was like not only a pioneer for children's media, but also as a businesswoman. And she did not like that. She did not like me saying that she was a businesswoman. Well, and
Oh.
now she didn't say it in a nasty way. I want to make that perfectly clear. She'd said that she didn't consider herself a businesswoman. She was like a children's storyteller and things like that.
Yeah.
It was because media at the time took that kind of businesswoman tag and kind of used that to make her seem like a bad person. So I think it was just the fact that me saying that it was just a sore point. So obviously I apologized because I didn't know. And she said, you know, it was perfectly fine. Like you said, you didn't know. Well, and that's what I loved about her. Like she was straight with you no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I've still not been able to do that. And I think it's because but I just don't know how to put into words how much she not only meant to my life, but so many people's lives in the fandom.
Okay. So question 9 is what keeps you motivated when content creation gets stressful or overwhelming?
The thing that keeps me motivated is the media company because when I that money goes toward keeping my business alive, which is as a key thing. It's not the only thing, obviously, but the main thing that keeps me going is knowing that there's people that actually like to watch my content. For a long time, I didn't think that the numbers that would come up were genuine. A lot of times I thought it was bots just spamming my account, especially at the start. You don't really believe that so many people are tuning in to listen to you because you get like a big spike of numbers and then they just die down very quickly. And you thought, okay, I've had my boom, I've had my bust. Everybody's just kind of filtering away. But as you learn more about content creation, you realize it's because the algorithm's just pumping it out to everybody to see who's going to land. And once it finds those people, it niches down towards them. That's why your numbers drop. So it wasn't a case of I was losing people. It was just the right people were now tuning in and they'd found it. And the best part of it that keeps me going is the community. Reading the comments from people, getting to engage with people that are also Thomas and Friends fans. This is stuff that I never had as a kid. I never had anybody I could talk to about Thomas that didn't instantly ridicule me as the weird ginger kids that talked about trains too much, or that would bring in Talkabout and Friends figures and the metal die-cast figures and throw them at me at school because they thought I was just a weirdo who wanted to play with trains. And I was like, too right, because people sucked. People made me feel bad. They made me feel horrible about myself. So, and Thomas didn't. So getting to read those comments and see other people that are so passionate about the fandom, it keeps me going. It keeps me wanting to create. Do I get writer's block? Of course I do. Do I get like points where my head goes into a funk? Definitely. Like that's just the journey of dealing with mental health. But the best part about it is when I'm on my game, I always make sure to try and batch record as much as I can. So that way, when I do have that kind of wave where I dry up, at least I know there's content coming from my fans. And especially things like in the summer, where I'm the main childcare for my kids because my wife works. So I need to batch record so that way over the summer, people have still got content and I can still look after my kids and not need to worry so much about, oh, I need to get a video recorded now. I need to get it out for today. This deadline's here. So batching recording as much as I can and making sure that I can get everything done. So what people who want to watch my channel still get to see that stuff. That keeps me going. Just knowing that people actually like to listen to what I say.
Yeah. I actually don't know how I even stumbled upon your channel.
That's actually the reaction of most people, really.
I know. I think it might have been one of your videos just popped up on my YouTube homepage, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch this video, see who this person is, and I watched a couple of your videos, and I think I immediately subscribed after that, just
Thank you
because I
very
like
much.
your content. And then a little bit later on, I see that you subscribe to me. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, well, I always believe that if someone's going to take the time to try and subscribe to me, the least you can do is like give us a subscription back. And it's quite funny because sometimes I'll get tagged in posts and they'll go, "No way, the ginger to subscribe to me. This is crazy." And I'm like, really? What? I think it's still that imposter syndrome. I still feel like that kid who was always brought up to be nice to others and be good to people. So if they subscribe to me and they're wanting to see my content, they want to engage with me, the least you can do is like kind of send that back, give that back to people. I'm always about trying to give people a help up, and that because that's from seeing what it's like in the quote unquote industry proper. It's so cutthroat. People are always backstabbing. They're always out for themselves. That's never been me. So if I can help people with get kind of on their way and give them a subscribe, watch a video, drop a little comment, that's the least I could do because people do that for me, and it makes me feel good to see that.
Okay. Of my videos that you've watched, what's your favorite one of mine?
Well, the recent one that you did, where you did your Thomas Talks podcast, like the last one that you just done before me,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that conversation. I thought it was a really good back and forth between you both. I thought there was it was a really, really strong conversation. I think like with your kind of content and with a lot of people kind of in like your age range, like, you know, like Peter Sam, the Narrow Gauge Engine, Spider-Fan 2003, what I love about your kind of generation of fans is that you all have such a fresh and unique perspective on the franchise that my generation wouldn't have, because you grew up in different times. To you, like the CGI era is like your classic era, the hit era, Nitron era are like your classic eras. Whereas when I seen them, I was like, what has happened to my Thomas? It was that kind of visceral reaction. So seeing how it is for other generations, finding out different takes and different perspectives and things, where they'll talk about, like, you know, they'll go, yeah, the classic era is classic, but kind of, but there's flaws here and there's bits there that aren't really that good. And getting to hear what different ideas and different debates, it's just so refreshing for me. There was a creator, Gotta Go Fast 91, he's called, and he was talking about one of the episodes in season 10. I'd said it was one of my worst from season 10. I wasn't a big fan of it, but it was one of his favorites. And he couldn't convince me in the comments of my video to change my mind. Well, even after it, because I did like my top 10 worst, then I did a re-ranking and it was still down there. He's like, oh, I wasn't able to convince you. I'm like, nah, not really. So he did a video and he tagged me in it and said, like, I want to try and convince the Ginger Engine through this video if he'll rethink this episode. So I watched the video. I sat down and watched it. I listened to his points and I thought, well, I personally still don't like it. I can now see from the other side what his perspective is and why this episode resonates with them. Well, and said that to him, like, wrote a comment saying that, like, you know, it's gave me more things to think about. And while I personally may not still really like it, when I go back and watch it, I'll have appreciation for it because other people like it. And that's what I love about the fandom. You could be my age in your late 30s, or you could be teenage years or 20s, and you can see a franchise in a totally different light, a totally different perspective, and you're constantly reevaluating things.
What episode was it?
It was Top Thomas.
Okay. A little fun fact about me that people might not know. I think I've mentioned it before, though. I don't know when in the US season 10 ended, but season 10 ended, from what I've read on the Thomas fandom. In the UK, it ended October 15th, 2006, and I was born the next day on October 16th, 2006. So I grew up right around season 10, season 11.
Wow.
And I was born around there. Yeah.
Well, interesting fact for you, my older brother is also 16th of October. But he was 1980. He was 1984, so he was literally born, I think, 10 days after season 1 premiered in the UK.
I think it was 7, because I think wasn't it October 9th, 1984 that it premiered?
It was I know I definitely know it was October 1984, and I was like,
yeah,
my brother was born then. But yeah,
I think it was October 9th.
Yeah, but my older brother shares a birthday with you.
That's cool. And like you're saying, early 20s and stuff. I'm 19. I'll be 20 in October. But you know, I grew up mostly around the CGI series, and then All Engines Go and stuff. But you know, I've rewatched like the model series, and then I've watched the Nitrogen era. I'm like, what was Sharon Miller thinking when she wrote some of these episodes? Especially the Logging Locals episodes. Seems like all they did with those ones, and in season 15, seems like all they did with those ones, they had a base of a few episodes. They just take that base, rewrite it, and call it another episode. But it basically seems like it's the same episode.
And that was the thing. Like, I'd heard by the time I got to season 15, so many people saying it was the worst season of Thomas and Friends ever created. It was like worse than what some of the biggest catastrophes in the world and all this kind of stuff. And I sat down and I watched it, and I actually quite enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite, obviously, but I think because I felt such apathy to seasons 13 and 14, I felt a real not nice feeling towards season 13, and I felt nothing for season 14, which, if you're a huge fan of a franchise like this, feeling nothing is probably worse than feeling something, no matter if it's good or bad. So when I went to season 15, I was like, there's some real good episodes here that I really like, but there's also some episodes here that I think are absolute rubbish.
Yeah.
But I felt something. And I think it was also because at that time when I was watching season 15, I'd just been made homeless. I was just put into a homeless unit, and I wanted to make sure I had something to kind of keep me sane during those times. And I was watching season 15 at that point, and I had my notepad out, and I was because I didn't have obviously my computer or anything at this point. Well, all I had was a pad and a pen, and just somewhere to just a DVD. And I was just writing this stuff, and it kept me sane through a lot of dark times. And it was why it took me so long to get to season 16 in the Nitrogen era in my channel. For 2 years, I avoided it because I didn't want to open that wound again of remembering the last time I watched a series, I was sitting in a homeless unit with a druggie trying to break down my door, thinking I was a guy that owed him money. And the police had to come and take them away and go, that person doesn't live here anymore. And it terrified me. So I had to make sure I was mentally ready, because I was I don't want to open any old wounds. Then I watched season 16 and I was like, okay, I feel fine. Look how far I've come since then. I can finish this and I can do this. And I've learned so much more about content creation as well. Learned so much about me as a person. And I was able to finally finish that. And it actually felt more like, okay, I can now sign that off with a tick and a smile on my face.
Yeah. So how would you rate the nitrogen seasons? Because I think the way I rate them, number one, which is honestly one of the best in my opinion, is I said season 13 before, but actually season 14 has a lot of good episodes too. But I think the worst season, just in my opinion, would be like season 15. And season 16 would maybe be number 3. It's a toss up on which one's my number 1 between season 13 and 14. But how would you rate them?
I did a ranking video recently about that. So season 14 was my bottom because I felt nothing for it, and that was worse than feeling something. Season 13 was then next for me because I went. You go from the high hero of the rails to season 13, and the introduction of Charlie.
Yeah,
and you really hit earth with a thud. And then season 15 for me, number 2, because I didn't mind David Diesel's. I think Calling All In just does the trope better, but I didn't mind it. I thought Diesel Ted was still a really good interpretation of how well it was done. Well, and it's always nice to see Percy the lead role rather than Thomas, even though I do think for that one movie, Thomas would have been better for the stakes and how to switch it around. And then I actually got to the Day of the Diesels fan remake movie. I got to voice Harold in that, which was really quite cool. I got to voice Harold the helicopter in that, so that was a nice wee tick box for me. But feeling like where the episodes were good, they were great, and when they were bad, they were awful. At least I felt something. And then for me, number 1 was season 16 because season 16 had a more even spread of good episodes to bad, and Blue Mountain Mystery was really strong. Was really strong for me. I can't say what my favorite movie is yet because I've not seen all of the Thomas movies yet because I'm working my way through. I want to keep my reactions as fresh as possible, so I don't want to binge them all and then be like, okay, I watched this over a year ago and now I need to record it. Now I need to refresh myself, and then I like to keep the actions as true as I can. So I haven't finished all the movies yet, but I'm just about to watch season 17, and then I've watched all of the series of Thomas and Friends.
Okay. What was I just had something I was gonna say. Oh, your auditions that you sent me. I really like all of your voices.
Thank you very much.
So if that script that I wrote, if it Duck in the Ducks, if that becomes an episode, then you would basically just be talking to yourself throughout the whole episode. You'd be voicing all those characters.
Well, I think it doesn't bother me as much because, being a dad, like one of the things that I did for when the kids were born, I read them the Railway series books. My kids, they were because they were twins, they were due to come early, but they wound up. It was an emergency section, so they were 10 weeks premature. So they spent 6 weeks in hospital. Okay. And during that time, I took in the Railway series books, my 26 series collection, and I read it to them in their incubators. And then when I was feeding them and when I was changing them, so we would have set times we were allowed into the hospital to go and see them because my wife was recovering from the surgery. So, and I was still working a day job at the time. So I was working 8 till 12, go and pick up my wife. Then we would go to the hospital. We'd be there from 2 till 7 and then back home and repeat cycle for 6 weeks. So when we were there from 2 till 7, we would be feeding them and changing them and things. And then when we were getting them down, I would get out the Railway series books and I would start reading the stories to them. And that carried on when I got home. When we got them home, I would read them stories for bedtime, read them Railway series. And then they got some of my Thomas story library, what the kind of retellings of the stories, and I would read them to them every night as well. And that's when they were getting just a bit older, where they could say, "Daddy, do the voice." Well, and that's why my Harold one was in demand, because I always read them. Harold was one of their favorite books, the Harold story. So I would always read them the Harold story, and they would want me to put on the Harold voice because they thought it was funny when I was because I would deliberately try and talk through my nose, and they would laugh. And I always loved to play about with accents and have fun. So hearing myself kind of talking to myself in a story, isn't too bad for me. It just reminds me of when Ringo Starr and Michelangelo's did that type of stuff, because they always talk to themselves in the classic era.
Yeah. Now I've had my own idea of writing my own railway series stories and then making videos about it. If we wanted to, I could do that. I could make Duck and the Ducks like a railway series style story, and then and then no, Duck and the Ducks though, or is it? Or wait, no, it's Duck and Dukes. Never mind. I was gonna say Duck and the Ducks is a railway series story, but no, Duck and Dukes is. But if I wanted to, I could do that, and then if you wanted to, we could work something out, and you could be you could narrate those stories that I write.
Well, yeah, I'm more than happy to help. But it's one of the things that's one of the things I really do love about the fandom, is that the fan content and the Thomas fandom in particular, the story quality is so high.
Yeah.
It's such a high bar to hit. And it's one of those ones I've wrote some Thomas and Friends fan fiction myself, and I always feel so self-conscious about it. Really self-conscious about it, because you see some of the work that other creators in the fandom do, and they're so detailed. They know everything down pat. They know the exact geography of the railways, and they know exactly how each character should sound, what their accent should be, what styles they prefer, how they operate things like how they create them in Train Sim World, Roblox, now Wonders of Sodor. It's amazing the creativity that comes out of this fandom. And for old dinosaurs like myself, who really know how to switch a computer on and switch it back off, it can be quite intimidating. You look at it and you're like, oh, I've got some stories, but I don't know if they're good. I'll just leave them. I'll do the voice. I'll do voices for someone else. And then you feel self-conscious about it. But seeing the work that people put into it, they're making huge movie style productions. It's fantastic to see.
Yeah. The only problem with that kind of series, I would have to figure out how to illustrate them. But the thing that's different with the Journey Never Ends is, and with my other series that I've tried to do but they failed, is that Alex Thomas Bing Bing Stories, he's actually this series is more promising because he's actually serious about filming the episodes for me, so they'll be filmed in 2019, and what the only thing we'll have to do, he'll have to edit them, and then we just edit the what I'm thinking we'll do is we'll film them he'll have him film them first, and then we'll figure out who will edit the voices and stuff over it, and then hopefully the episodes will come out soon.
We just take your time. Obviously, that's one thing I always try and give advice to a lot of people that do the creative stuff. The only person that puts pressure on you to get them out is yourself. Fans and people can say even in some of my videos where they were like, when are you bringing out this ranking video? When are you bringing out this movie review? They can say that's fine, but if you don't feel the spark to do it, or you're not you don't want to rush it, don't rush it. Life is extremely important. Us doing the Thomas and Friends content on any channel, of course, that's a big thing for us. But life doesn't stop because of it. It's
Yeah.
the amount of creators that I see in the fandom as well, and they burn out because they're so desperate to push themselves. They rush to try and meet deadlines, and then they wind up dropping because they're like, oh, okay, I did that. I'm burned out now. I can't do this anymore. And we lose creative people in the fandom. That breaks my heart when I see that. So it's like, if there was one thing I could give to, like, any other creatives in the fandom that maybe watch this as well as yourself, is life is important. Focus on that. The fans will always be there when you come back. And if they don't come back, they weren't real fans in the first place.
Yeah. And like I'm saying with this, series though, I've tried to film stuff on my own before. Like I've tried to film my own series. I just never had the resources to. So when it was actually in the last Tidmouth Talks episode, I actually told him about the idea of doing the series, and that's actually how the series came to be.
Yeah.
Because I knew then, when I was interviewing him and stuff, he has Trains 19 that he, films his own series in. And that's also the other thing. He's got his own series and he's filming his own along with mine. So, for you viewers watching, if you like, when the series actually does come out, if there's like an episode, like, I don't know, I'm just gonna name a random date, like June 19th, and then the next one doesn't come out till like July 30th, and then August 7th is the third one. Like, if it's spread out like that, that's fine. I will let you guys know. But I'm gonna try to. Hopefully, we could try to get them out regularly instead of like spreading them out like that. Because it's better to take time to make them, but if I don't want to have like season 1 go on for 3 years.
Yeah.
I want to have it all together. We've been recording this over an hour. I've been asking you some extra questions, but the ones I've actually asked you were the only 9. I have 35 to ask you. We could always split this into 2 or 3-part different videos if you want.
Well, feel free to ask them. I'll try and condense the answers down. We'll do it quick fire.
Okay. I do have another extra bonus question that I want to ask you. It's I don't think I have it here, but it's related to what it's related to section 3. We're still on section 1, but I want to ask you: have you ever had, or do you have any ideas for your own series related to like The Journey Never Ends and all these other fan series? Have you ever thought about doing your own?
I do have a narrow gauge engine saga. I've wrote 5 episodes for. There is one. The first episode is on my channel. It's called Double D, and it's about a dynamic that never really got explored in the narrow gauge engines, and it was if Duke and Duncan met and what they were like and how they would interact. So that's the kind of first episode around that, and then another 4 episodes were wrote around kind of carrying on from that. There's certainly some twists and turns in it, and some kind of darker elements, which was just kind of my style of working. And then I wanted to try and do essentially like a kind of 2-part special to round it off. I managed to get the first part down. The second part, I really struggled with trying to stick the landing with. I also had an idea, and it was I want to do what's called I call it the 2 Henrys trilogy. And it was roughly based on when I did that 2 Henrys video analysis, people were like, how could that work? How could the idea of 2 Henrys actually work? And it got me thinking about, I have an idea of how it could work. I want to write this down. And I wrote a very brief outline of part 1, and I have an idea of where I want part 2 and 3 to go, but I just haven't kind of got round to doing that yet because it's just in terms of, like family life and kids and what things with the business moving forward as well. Sometimes, again, like I said, life kind of takes priority to it. But narrow gauge, I would love those narrow gauge engines episode to get made properly, someday, into like a proper series.
if you ever wanted to have them like be filmed in trains, Alex himself could probably help you out if you wanted him to help you out.
Yeah. Oh, I'll look at it someday and kind of see how I go. What
Yeah.
it's one of those ones that like I think I only showed one person what the actual scripts. It was the Peter Sam the Narrow Gauge Engine channel. Well, I showed him the scripts, and then I can't. Well, I just lost my confidence after that.
Yeah. I know you're talking about someone else, but another one that he also goes by Peter Sam. His name's he goes by Peter Sam Fan. He's done voices for me before too. I've been trying to reach out to him to get him in this series as well, but he just hasn't really gotten back to me.
Yeah.
And yeah. So if I get his voices on in the series too, well, we'll have a full voice cast at least by the end of season 1.
Mm.
And now the way I'm trying to do it though is like I don't want to have a voice cast right now because I mean I'm still holding auditions. I'm trying to get like the voices I need first for the first few episodes, and then we'll figure out because the way we're actually setting up the season. Okay, so it's 4 seasons, 16 episodes each, and then there's going to be like a movie in between, like every season's episode 8 and 9. There's going to be like a double length special. Season 1's going to be the attack on Ulstead, and season 8 and 9 of every episode is going to be centered around the episode or the movie, the special. So I think what we're gonna do is like we're gonna do a Percy and Millie episode either before or after the I feel like that could work after because Duke's gonna make a return in the Attack on Ulstead, and I want to have him have his own episode before the movie. So I'm thinking about doing the Duke centered episode before the movie, and then I think it might even be called Duke's Return. So I'm gonna have like a Duke centered episode, the movie, and then like Percy and Millie. The Percy and Millie episode will be like what happens after the events of the attack on Ulstead.
Wow.
So that's a
Cool.
pretty good storyline, though, right?
Yeah, definitely sounds like anything with Duke in it. Well, instantly gets my vote. Well, Grandpuff was so underused. Well, it made me so sad when I seen that season 5 he was meant to come back and he never did, and I was like,
yeah. And another thing, this is my the Beyond the Finish Line Rebecca episode I did. I said in that video with this new series, I'm going to give Rebecca, her own story arc and stuff, because in the main series she never got the character development she deserved. So that's why in this series, I'm gonna make sure she gets character development. So
there's one that it won't be out in my channel until tail end of July, but I recorded it today, and it was what we know. Thomas and Friends has a huge cast, a stacked cast, a roster that was so underutilized, and I just had one of those brain fart ones where I was like, there could be so many spin-offs in this franchise, not just Jack in the Pack, of characters that were so underdeveloped and underutilized. And it just got me thinking of all these different types of spin-offs I would love to see to essentially create a Thomas and Friends universe. And that was me just writing stuff down. Obviously, that won't be till the end of July to hear the picks for it, but it was just amazing that you could just jot it down and go, yeah, there's so many different character pairs you could do to flesh them out and give them more development, more backstory, more unique dynamic pairings. I always love the chemistry and how people interact with it, how engines interacted with each other. It's just one of the reasons that you love the fandom so much and you love the franchise so much.
Yeah. That's something else I was going to say too. I can't remember 100% what I was going to say, but I don't know what I was going to say.
Yeah, I have that all the time. Don't worry about it.
I know. I hate when that happens.
Yeah, I do it all. I have it all the time, especially like if the kids are wanting something, and I'm like, oh, you just feel like your head's. Just, I always just say to my kids, like, oh, like I'm rebooting.
Oh,
Give me 2 minutes to reboot. Mm.
yeah. Well, this is actually big news. I contacted both. Well, Joe Mill. Okay, so I contacted Joe Mills and Michael Brandon. Joe, I can just email him. Michael, I have to email his agents. They haven't gotten back to me, but I would love to have both of them in the series. Uh, and I told, I told Joe what prices we could do, and he was like, "This won't work for me, so I won't be, helping you out in the series." I said, "Well, if you have a price that I can work with, you can still be in the series." He hasn't gotten back to me yet either, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep guys updated if that happens.
Yeah, well, just
Yeah.
work with what you can, and if they
Yeah.
want to be a part of it, they'll find ways. I mean, I know that obviously, but I will be a paid voice actor for it as well. But the thing that I wanted to do
Yeah.
as well, which I was actually kind of speaking to someone about, is that for me, just starting to take my steps, as more of a senior head when it comes to how people deal with voiceover actors and how they deal with contacts and people. The last thing I want is to put people out money wise when it comes to a budget. What you want to set something
Yeah.
that's achievable, and you want to be a positive figure in media rather than a negative, because there's so many ones that, and I've seen it myself. They try and undercut you. They try and devalue your time. They try and make you feel like like your projects and your time isn't worth what you're going to say. But you have to be upfront, honest, and respectful with what you do, and that's what I am trying to do. Like when I announced that I was going to be now charging for voiceovers, I had quite a lot of blowback and a lot of not very nice people say who originally said, "Oh, what you're a really good voice actor." Going, "No, you're not that good a voice actor that you should be charging." And I thought, well, actually, yes, I am. I have been a semi-professional actor for 3 decades of my life. It's what I do. It's what I'm trying to make a career out of, and I'm trying to be one of the good guys of it rather than the ones that try and undercut you or try and overcharge and costing you like hundreds and hundreds. Like people that I see and they're charging like £150 for a couple of lines of dialogue, and they've got less experience than me. It sickens me to see that. So if I can help someone, but still obviously have to value my time, then that's what I'll do, and I'll try and do my best to help people where I can.
Yeah, and you said $10 per episode. Is that
Yes.
pounds or US dollars?
That's US dollars for you. So the conversion rate will probably work out a little bit. So conversion rate will work out a bit less for me. But the whole point is that I have to be true to myself as a creative, to still put a charge on it.
Yeah.
But one thing I have to remember as well. This is a big thing for you. The last thing I would want to do is essentially like rip you off. I wouldn't do that to you. That's or any creative. And one of the things that I hate always talking about, like when they go, okay, what's your charge? What's your rate? And then you try and be truthful about it, and then they go, that's not what I was expecting. And I get that a lot, and most times I'm just like, well, okay, I don't want to deal with it then. If they agree with it, so I try and be as reasonable as I can, especially for the work that I'm doing, because I recently did one of the big jobs I did was for our local council, and they were paying me £175 an hour for my time. And they're like that's your standard rate, and I was like, whoa, that's a lot more than I thought it was going to be. And so when I tell people that, and I go, that's again how I start. I go, look, this is what I should be charging, and this is what you're getting, but you're going to get the same amount of professional service as I gave the council for that. That's when the worm starts to turn and they realize, okay, he's not trying to rip us off. He's trying to actually work with us. He just needs something to subsidize time, because at the end of the day, I do have a business to run. And hopefully, and the long-term goal, for me down the line is that this business becomes something that I can provide for my family. I'm not there yet, but I would love that to happen one day. But I'm not going to undercut people or step on people to get there. That's just not who I am.
Yeah, and I know you said $10, but like if I ever have a little extra money, and if there's a reason that I need to pay you for a little bit extra money, I will. But
yeah, but
other than that,
never think that you have to, though. Never think that you have to.
Yeah.
But as far as I said, we've set that agreement. That's what the agreement is. I will always give what I can for that.
Yeah.
So never feel like I think I should be paying him more. It's perfectly fine. Well, as long as we have an open and honest dialogue with people, I'll always be open and honest with them.
Yeah. And you said $10 for the movies as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to get back to the actual question though. So like I said, we could always split this up into 2 or 3 parts if we have to.
I'm always more than happy to come back on. It's like I will need to get to my bed soon because I'm actually got a business meeting early doors tomorrow. I've got an hour's drive to get there.
So do you want me to ask you question 10 and then we can finish this episode up?
Yes, please.
Okay, so outside of YouTube and podcasts, I did not do that. I did not click on that. What outside of YouTube and podcasts, what are some of your hobbies or interests people might not know that you have?
That's actually a really good question. Because I think the kind of one that a lot of people are surprised at is that I like to watch professional wrestling. I like WWE, AEW, things like that. And it's not just because of it's not down to just the combative nature of it, but I personally I love the storytelling aspects of it. Because wrestling wise, I can't even step in the ring. I would get annihilated. Like I would take my first bump and I'd be like, no, I'm done. I'm out. I love how they use this medium to create stories and storytell and engage with fans, young and old. It's essentially the way that I've always wanted people to see Thomas and Friends, in that sense that it doesn't matter what age you are, that you can appreciate a medium and an art form for what it is. It's a similar kind of deal with that. So professional wrestling was something that I was quite a big fan of. And I have a couple of YouTube channels where we talk about that as well. Obviously, mental health is quite a passionate thing for me. Acting, singing. Probably a fact they won't know. I am a 5-time karaoke champion. So I retired undefeated, which was quite cool. How my wife and I actually met. We met at college. I was finishing my acting degree, and she was just starting out. And she saw me in the show, added me on Facebook. We got chatting. I just asked her out, and then here we are. We're 13 years together, 10 years married. And the day after I got married, that was the day that I gave up drinking, and I am 10 years sober as well.
Nice. If you don't mind me asking, what's your wife's name?
Allison.
Allison. Okay.
Yep. So I'll always call her Mrs. Ginger Engine on the channel. She absolutely she always.
Okay. I've heard of that now.
Yeah, she finds it quite funny. But when I say that, she's like, really? And I think it's quite funny as well because when we went away for our anniversary, and it was a little weekend away, and one of the things that got included was we got to have lunch on a steam train, and it was my first time going on a steam train in my life. Well, I'd never been on a steam train before, and it was on one of the railways where they do the Day Out with Thomas events. And the engine that we were on actually was Thomas on the Day Out with Thomas events when they used to do them.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, so the driver showed me the old blue paint chippings from after it had been cleaned and stuff. So we got off at one of the railway stations, and I saw it was a day out with Thomas Flag that they sold, and it was that way. I was kind of looking and going, I want to buy it, but I don't want my wife to be like, oh my god, what, really? And she just went, okay, go. I know you want it, go and get it. So I got off the train, took some pictures, went in, got the flag, came off. And as we got off and we're going back onto the bus, somebody from the bus was like, oh, did you enjoy yourself? And I was like, yeah, I got this flag. And she started going, oh my god, really? You're one of them. Which we hear those type of people as well. And I was already ready with my answer, but my wife actually jumped to my defense. Well, and she went, actually, he has a YouTube channel where he talks about Thomas and Friends, and he actually makes money doing that. And
okay.
Well, and the woman just kind of halted in her tracks, as if like, oh, she was like, are you serious? And I went, yeah, go back to enjoying your vape. And I just got back on the bus. But it was just it was one of those ones. It was just one of those ones that when I first started doing the Ginger Engine channel, in particular my family, they never understood it at all. They didn't understand why I was doing it. They thought it was going to set me up for like my mental health going back the way and all this kind of stuff. And now my dad, he actually regularly, if he watches a video and he likes it, he'll comment saying well done and, oh, I didn't know this and that and the next thing. So it shows you that if you persist with something that you're passionate about and you show that you have a knowledge of it and you're not just, for lack of better words, taking the piss, you wind up actually gaining more respect in the long run as a result. And I think that just made me so happy that I'd never seen my wife jump to my defense like that. But thinking that, going, well, no, he actually does this, and I love him for it.
Yeah.
So that's probably another thing that, well, because when I say to people that not only that I'm married, that I'm also a dad, they go, really? They're like you have kids. There's like, as if like it's so impossible for somebody like Thomas to find someone to breed with you. And I'm like, yeah. I had two at the same time. Probably something else that people don't know about me. I did stand-up comedy for 4 years as well. I only just recently stopped because I needed a wee bit of a break, but I got to perform at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. I've been a regular at the Glasgow Comedy Festival. I was doing stand-up comedy workshops, trying to helping people with their own skills, and then raising money for charity and business and things like that. So, performing just doesn't really die out with me. I live and breathe it. It's the old saying of, if you find a job that you love doing, you won't work a day in your life. I never really understood that until I started doing this properly. Now I do.
Yeah. Is your wife ginger?
She's not, no, which means actually our kids aren't either, because a little fact for you, the ginger gene, as it's called, it comes from the mum.
Okay.
Yeah. So my kids aren't ginger. They're blonde because my wife doesn't carry the gene for her is dormant. So it meant that I got it from my mum, and my mum refuses to accept that. But I'm like, you can't argue with science.
Yeah. What color is your wife's hair?
She's brown. She's brunette.
Okay.
She's brunette.
Okay. Is that all the questions we're gonna do today then?
I would say so. Yeah. If that's okay with you, but I've had a brilliant time. And it's one of the things I do enjoy about this fandom is that you can spend this time talking about Thomas and Friends, and the time really does fly by. It's great.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we can do another episode, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We can definitely do it. Yeah, we can do another part.
Okay. What was I gonna say now? Oh, if I'm interested on coming on one of your podcasts, if you want me to.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. I do that Mental Ginger show is the one I do about the arts and mental health. That's more sporadic as well. It was just because I hammered like about 200 episodes, and then I get burned out. So then it was just a case of like if people wanted to come on, well, they were more than happy to come on, and then I would edit it and get it sorted. So just if you feel like coming on at some point, just let me know.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll see you later, right?
Yep. And thank you very much for having me on.
Yep. And I'll keep you updated on what voices you get for the series. Personally,
Yep.
I think you could have all of them, but I'm gonna still talk to my team, and
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
they
definitely. Yeah, consult with your team first.
Yeah. All right.
Yep. But thank you very much again for having me on. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right. Talk to you later.
Yep, see you later. Thanks again. Bye.
All right, guys. The Tidmouth Talks podcast is back. And like I said, I'm just gonna do I won't call them seasons anymore. I'll just do episodes, like episode numbers, because so I'll go back and retitle all those, and then title this one as episode 6. Hold on. Okay, I've just seen if my mom was home or not. Yeah, and but I'm still gonna end it here because it's 1 minute 26 or an hour 26 minutes. Also, guys, go subscribe to the Ginger Engine because just because go subscribe to my main channel, Thomas Fan 1984, and like I said, the next 3 episodes, maybe in the next 3 episodes, will be him, 2 or 3 episodes, and then I'll also have another guest coming on soon. His name's Philip Torino. Torino. I don't know how to say it, but yeah, he said he's Philip Torino, however you say it. Philip. Yeah, but he's gonna come on soon. So yeah, I'm gonna have hopefully 4 new episodes coming out for you guys soon, including this one, because this one will be the first out of the 4. And like I said, I don't think I'm gonna do those kind of the season numbers anymore, just because this is my first episode, this is the first episode in 3 months. There's really no point on doing seasons now. But I know I keep saying this every time. I'm gonna try to get more guests on. I'm gonna try. If I don't succeed, well, that's fine. But yeah. Yeah. I'm just gonna go ahead and upload this and stuff. And make the thumbnail and all that girl stuff. So yeah. I'll see you guys in the next episode with either Andrew or Philip. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye for now. Also, if you see me on Andrew's podcast, that'll be cool. So, yeah. And like I said, he's gonna be voicing for me. No matter what we do, I'm gonna give him at least one voice. So he auditioned for Oliver, Duck, Harold. Did he audition for Henry? No, I know he auditioned for Toad. Maybe it was just those. Oh yeah, then Donald Douglas. I think it's only those 6. I'm limiting everyone to 10. So if he always wanted to voice more, he said his favorite character was Percy. I'll let him voice Percy. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next episode with another one. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and all that good old stuff. And yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to talk about. There's going to be a new Beyond the Finish Line episode coming out soon. Also, sorry I haven't uploaded lately. I have a job now. You guys know that. If you've been watching my main channel recently, got a job. A stalker. I stock the cooler at my local Chevron. So, yeah. This episode is an hour and a half. Holy crap. All right, well, you know what? Just for the hell of it, I'm going to try to end it right on an hour and a half. Because that'll be so cool. But yeah, more Beyond the Finish Line episodes are coming. I know I've also been talked about bringing back Evolution and then doing the new series tracks on Sodor and then tracks through Sodor and then tracks through time and then songs of Sodor. But yeah, those hopefully will come out soon. I don't know when. Like I said, I have a job. I think I'm mainly gonna be like available like Monday or well maybe Tuesdays too. I have to work tonight, but I didn't need to go with my mom and dad or my mom and brother because they'll be back before I have to go to work. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode. I'm just gonna upload whenever. Yeah, see you guys in the next episode. Bye for now.